You sound. Here we go. We are back on another live stream. We had a great chat behind the scenes, and he's a big time invested in my company guy. I'm really excited to share Matt's journey, but let me preview a bit because he is the finance guy in entrepreneurship. As you start to scale, you got to pay attention to certain things, and he'll be able to cover all of this as the founder of 8X, former senior partner, CFO, and private equity, as well as doing fractional CFO work. So stay tuned to the end to find out how to get in touch with him. But he's got a track record of turning 6-figure losses into 7-figure profits and driving 300% year-over-year growth. And yes, you heard that correctly. I'm not gassing it up. Matt, thank you for joining us here on That Entrepreneur Show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I'm excited to dive more into this story. We're going to talk about managing finances, scorecards to track metrics, of course, along with his journey. So, everyone, welcome back to That Entrepreneur Show. Thank you for keeping the show a top 2.5% global show. Keep listening, keep giving us feedback. Let us know what you want us to ask the guests because we're going for top 2% because that means we're helping that many more aspiring and current business owners. My name is Vincent A. Lancy. I'm ecstatic to launch another episode today with another guest who can bring the value to you. One quick shout out to John Ford for his empathy app in the App Store and his empathy card set. Head to theempathyset.com. Every entrepreneur needs to stay mentally healthy, and he does just that. If you are viewing on, we've got his website right here for you to check out as you're listening. But Matt, let's go back to basics, back to the beginning. Why did you want to become an entrepreneur?
I just wanted to do something really hard, I think. Like I had worked in businesses and I had helped owners scale their things. And I was like, I just want to make all the decisions. And it wasn't till, I looked at doing like vinyl card wrapping. I looked at like this window film thing and I went to this convention and I just couldn't find anything I really wanted to do. And then, again, when I was working in private equity, again, I got to do really hard stuff, but I was like, man, the managing partners get to make all the decisions and they have to make sure it all works. And then a friend asked for some help with his business on the finance side. So I was helping him. And then a friend of his friend asked for help. And basically I was like, oh, there could be a business to this. And then I saw my opportunity to take on that founder CEO role. And, that was 5 years ago. And here we are now. But I just wanted to try something really, really hard, I think.
I love how you just highlighted, hey, you've got resources right in front of you. Your friends are right here. Have the courage to not be shy and let them know what you're doing because if they're going to put you down, they're not the right friend for you. I've unfortunately dealt with that a lot. As an entrepreneur, it gets hard, but you have to pitch this because, hey, not just about who's a target customer when you're networking. And I learned this with actually podcast guests like today, but who do you know that has such a big network that may have some people in that network that's a target customer? Being strategic with your networking, having the courage to do that. Thank you for sharing that. Back when you were in the corporate days, what's one big lesson you learned there? You mentioned you wanted to wear all the hats. You wanted to do something hard. What is something that did carry over from corporate for maybe some of our entrepreneurs tuning in or watching on today who are on the edge? They don't want to do it. They want to do it, but they're not going all in. Push them in for them.
What's something that carries through? I think that, okay. The some of the most wealthy people I know and managing partners that I got to work with were the nicest people. And one guy specifically was probably the best boss I ever had in my whole entire life. And I'm paid to do a job and I would do my job and he would say, hey, thanks, that's great work. And he was very thankful, very grateful. He would listen, he was kind. If he made a mistake, he'd be like, yep, take a W or an L there, but let's learn from it for next time. And I think for me, that's probably the biggest thing that I learned was that like really caring for the people that work for you in the way he did for me. I never forgot that. And I try to emulate that in everything.
And now you're able to do that with the team of your own, of course, and I'm sure your
Well,
team
yeah.
loves you. Go ahead.
Well, and so I remember how it felt to receive that level of empathy and kindness and compassion. And it made my working life awesome. And for me, not always perfect, but I get to do that now for others. I get to hey, like thank you. They're like, oh, no one thanks us normally. I'm like, well, yeah, but you're doing a job, but sure, but like you did it awesome. So anyway, that's been really wonderful. Part of
I
it.
got that right here for the show notes. They go live. The benefits of showing your team empathy and kindness. And I
Yeah.
couldn't agree with you more. I do the same with my team and always try to make things a collaborative discussion when we're making
Totally.
changes, when we're doing things, because I want to, again, ask people what they want to see and what they want to hear.
Mhm.
So I absolutely love that. Now, I talked about in the beginning, I know people are on the edge of their seats. How to manage your finances. It's easier said than done. Do you have some early tips here, or what can you give us?
Okay, so if you're starting a business, the thing you want to do the least is the financial and the accounting. So don't do it is the key. Hire a bookkeeper, go on Upwork. You could find someone. I started off with someone that was like $100 a month, and they would just categorize things because I would not do it. Even though I'm a finance guy, I don't want to do my own finances. So hire a bookkeeper, even if it's on Upwork. Then you can graduate to someone more expensive that does a better job. But never forget about the bookkeeping, the foundational putting your transactions in the categories and then looking at that once a month. And even as you get bigger and bigger, like I work with a client that built their own manufacturing facility in the UK, and most 8 out of the 10 of their monthly financial meetings are boring, total waste of time. But you keep doing them, and then you just don't know which one's going to be great. The one we had last week, we found a 30% improvement in revenue and profitability because there was one thing that everybody in the whole company missed, but that we saw when we were talking through the finances. So now they can replicate that again and again and again. So like, yeah, do the bookkeeping and then do the financial reviews. Never stop.
I really like how you highlighted it there. I also believe outsourcing my taxes and everything's a better
Hmm.
idea because I don't want my own liability. I want a professional double checking for
Hmm.
me. Then you made a great point there too. You don't have to start with a $5,000 a month tax service. You could
No.
start with someone on Upwork. Everyone, Upwork's a website where, of course, freelancers, they have pros and cons off if they're not a referral. But I use Upwork for book formatting for because
Totally.
Amazon, Barnes and Noble, one-off tasks. Great source to use there. Now, what are some scorecards to track metrics, some KPIs, some important things maybe for business owners to be covering their finances?
Great. So this is the thing you want to do right after you get your bookkeeping settled. The very next most important thing is to have scorecards. What a scorecard is you pick, let's say, the 10 most important things you can track for business. Only 10, not 30, not 40, not 5, 10, maybe 15. And you put them in a Google Sheet and you assign an owner to those things. No matter what size of business is, if it's 5, maybe you own them all. If it's 10, maybe a couple people own other things, right? And then you grab the data and you put it in there weekly. And if it's on target, so let's say it's like customer acquisition costs, you want to acquire
Mhm.
a customer for $40, and anything below that's on target. So one week it's 39, next week it's 38, and one week it goes to 42. When it goes to 42, that number turns red. So something's on target, it's green, and if it's off target, it's red. The things that are red, discuss them, solve them, create action plans to fix it. And if you do this over and over every week, again, most weeks are boring, but if you do this and you spot the red ones and you solve the problems, there's a couple things that happen. One is you're teaching your team to help you problem solve. Number two, you are catching problems before they happen if you pick the right numbers. And number three, if a problem does happen, you catch it very, very quickly. And when that happens, it means you can react, you can solve, you can do things faster. A client of mine, they lost 300 grand last October because their fulfillment center dropped off this one metric on on-time fulfillment, but they didn't watch it weekly. They watched it monthly. So they had 3 weeks where they didn't know it was wrong and all they lost a ton of money. If they had learned about it faster, they could have fixed it faster and only lost 100 grand. So scorecards are huge.
Thank you for sharing that. And I just added here for the notes why you need to track weekly. So you're
Mhm.
saying it's important to stay on top of your finance. It's not something to look at once a year for tax time.
100%. And not just financial metrics either, right? Like again, think of the 10 things you can measure that are important to you. It could be on-time fulfillment. It could be acquisition cost. It could be bank balance. It could be profit, whatever, right? It could be customer service tickets responded to. It doesn't matter what it is. Think of the 10 things that are most important for you. Put them on there. Look at them every week. Again, most weeks are boring, but if you do this, I promise you will catch problems faster and you will train your team to catch up with you and help share the burden.
I'm a big fan of reflection on my business. I didn't really
Mhm,
find these early stages of success till I did many things, including reflection. And
mhm.
that's just one of the many things I do as an entrepreneur. There are tips that work for some, they don't work for everyone. What are some other tips you have as an entrepreneur you can lend to our audience now that you are a very seasoned and successful entrepreneur?
Yeah, one thing I keep learning, and you'd love to learn it once and do it perfect forever, but I keep learning to hire the best people that I can find. And when they're not the best, to move on quickly. And so I would say, I think I finally learned my lesson mostly this year, where we now hire folks, and we're very upfront about this, but if you are not an A player in the first 4 weeks, it's not apparent, we actually move you on uh, very quickly. And we're spending a lot of time interviewing. We do assessments, we do paid case studies, not just the easy 30-minute case study. No, it's like 6 hours of fucking work, and we pay them $500 to do it. And because so we're getting a really good view of what it takes for them, what it would feel like working with them. And we're beginning to hire better and better and better. And I have one person that just started, two people that just started, and the impact they've made in the first 3 weeks is huge, huge. And so in every case, hire the best person that you can afford. Um, yeah, that's huge.
I would love to ask for some advice here. You seem to have some experience in this area.
Mhm,
You have the assessments for bringing people on, which I love that. We're over
mhm.
450 shows in. I have not heard that once. I can firmly say that.
Okay.
But now, and I'm going to adapt that. But letting people go, letting employees, you mentioned it's not a good fit. You learned your lesson, you move on quicker.
Hmm, hmm.
I just had a situation with a great person. I was very kind, and it gets abused sometimes, which happens. And I didn't know what to do. It ended up working itself out. But what are some ways that we can more effectively move on?
So the hardest thing, I think, for a lot of people and for me is you want to give them a good enough shot, right? And you go at month one, oh man, they're not meeting expectations. I don't think it's going to work. And you go, you know what? What if I explain that to them and they do better? Am I doing them a disservice by moving on quickly? And it's hard to do because terminating people sucks, and no one cares because you're the owner, and it's not, shouldn't be hard for you, right? So the first thing is that know that your intuition is probably correct. That's the big one, and I find rarely wrong when it comes to staff. And 4 weeks is enough. In the first 2 weeks, actually, everyone in the first 2 weeks, if someone's an A player or not. We do four, fine. We should probably do two, but in the first 2 weeks, trust your instinct and make the move. It doesn't get better. It doesn't. It just doesn't. Like in no case has someone we knew wouldn't work in 4 weeks ended up working. It just never once. And so now we're super kind to someone on the way out. We explain to them that look, we are very selective. You have a 90-day probationary period, and we're careful, right? And so the last person we let go, we said, look, we thought this would work. It didn't work. Uh, we'll give you a reference letter. We'll do all this stuff to support you on your way out, but it's not going to work. Yeah.
I am the show notes are going wild. I'm gonna have to really be picking and choosing here. Uh, but this is great here. I was very curious because there's no easy way to do it, like you said, and people don't care, but you have to do what's best for your business.
Hmm,
Doesn't mean people aren't people, excuse me, but you got to move forward, and having the courage to do that, I think, comes with growing and scaling because you
hmm,
can't be held back. This is great. You gave some advice earlier for newer entrepreneurs,
hmm.
aspiring entrepreneurs. What about those who have scaled? What's some advice that you've learned as you start to scale companies you can now lend forward?
Um, I would say that one big thing that I've learned about growing my company is the thing that I wish I had done earlier is marketing. And I think I work with businesses that are doing 100 million. I work with my own business. I'm doing 7 figures. I have some that are 8, so I get to see all sizes of businesses. The one thing we all wish, everybody wishes, is that more people knew about us, right? And so do the top of funnel awareness building marketing at whatever scale you can. So all of us have to spend money on getting clients and in the now, but set aside some money that you spend every month on just building awareness, whether it's just Facebook ads that are just awareness based, whether it's doing podcasts, whether it's social content. Spend a decent amount of money, not a lot. It could be 1% of revenue, could be 2% of revenue, could be 5. Is probably the ideal, but spend the money no matter what size you're at. Spend that money, and you will build the eyeballs, the awareness, and it becomes easier to convert people down your funnel when more people know about you.
I don't think we'll be able to top that to keep going here, but I have to move into this question that I've asked almost every guest. Which entrepreneur throughout history, if you had the choice, they could be dead or alive, but I asked someone that you have not met yet, would you choose to sit down with, have a conversation with, and pick their brain quite a bit, of course?
I just learned about the guy, I don't remember his name, the guy that invented the Dyson vacuum. He apparently failed 4,000 times and is now a billionaire. But he apparently created 4,000 products and none of them worked. What I want to know is how in the hell did he keep going at 500 failed, 1,000 failed? Where does that self-belief come from? Where does the money come from? Where does the grit come from? What the heck does it take to fail 4,000 times? Because I just heard Naval Ravikant on the podcast. He was saying entrepreneurship, fail a lot and fail quickly and just iterate and you'll win at whatever you do. You'll just win. But like 4,000 times is so many times to fail. I just want to know how he can do that.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it certainly is inspiring. Even now, at the end of the day, I'm coming on my 12 hours a day. I started at 3 this morning, and you always hear little things like that that can give you the extra hour. Right now, of course, we've got a few more calls. But listen, I want to delve deeper. Where would the meeting go down if you could pick the location too?
Great question. It would be in a cafe in Paris. I love just the side of the road with the chairs and a little table and a croissant and a latte and stuff. It would be there. Yeah.
Out of a movie there, huh? I love
Oh
that.
man, I love it there. Yeah.
I've never. Is that a good travel spot for you?
I've been there twice, and we are going to go back for sure.
All right. Well, everyone, I hope we put you on, not just some business advice, but some traveling aspirations. It is great
100%.
to take time away from work. It's something I didn't do for a while. Go, then burnout and all these things. Now there's intentional days off. And of course, days away from the state of Florida, especially come hurricane season coming up. But Matt, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to join our community here on That Entrepreneur Show. Where can we find you online?
I am on LinkedIn. Just look for Matt Putra, just my name. I'm on Twitter as the e-commerce CFO. And those are the 2 big places. So you can look at my website too, which is on the screen.
All right. Yes, of course, everyone, if you're catching out the video or some video clips, or if you're with us live, or one step is just on the LinkedIn or YouTube pages, 8x.co. Be sure to head there. And my name is Vincent A. Lancy. You can learn more about me by searching for Vincent A. Lancy or vincentalancy.com. I do want to show some love to our show partner. He helps all of us entrepreneurs stay level-headed, and that's, of course, John Ford with the Empathy Set. Head to empathyset.com to get feeling better. And then entrepreneurship, we have to remember to take care of our mental health. You know that from me. John Ford's doing great work out there. And also Coming Alive podcastproduction.com to get your podcast journey started today. And with that, we are signing off today. Matt, thanks so much again for joining us today.
Thank you. This was wonderful. Thank you.